A friend asked me why'd they put this Overland Mail station way out here in the middle of nowhere. Now, knowing him, he might have been joking. It's hard to say. But why is it way out there? Well, way out there was even farther out there than you might think. Between Mesilla on the Rio Grande and Fort Yuma in California, there were only three towns. Pinos Altos, which is north of where Silver City is today, and Tucson and Tubac, which were kind of close together. And there are a scattering of ranches and farms along Sonoyta Creek, mostly feeding Tubac and Tucson and the one army fort that was nearby. Apart from that, it was Butterfield stations, scattered along the route on the shortest route between water. The straightest line that they could make every 15 to 25 miles. And those stations were manned by 2 to 3 gentlemen, a station keeper, an ostler, and a replacement driver. They were change stations, changed horses, well, mules out here, every 15 to 25 miles. Changed drivers about every 100 miles. Out here in the West, we were using celerity wagons designed by Butterfield. It carried a driver and a conductor, the conductor in charge of the mail. It was all about the mail. Up front, on a seat that was on the same level as the passengers, and 9 were supposed to ride in the 3 seats behind. They were barely wide enough for 2, so the fellows on the outside edge hung a leg out the outside. Those seats folded down to make a bed at night. Can you imagine 9 people trying to sleep in that space? It was all about the mail. The first station as we come into Arizona was Steen's Peak. That's right, Steen's at Doubtful Canyon. It's named for Major Enoch Steen, but when the railroad came along, they spelled it wrong. Oh well. It was one of 10 stone stations in Apache country. Why stone? Well, that was to keep the Apaches out. The stations were built on a pattern generally like this one. You had crew quarters for the 3 gentlemen, and then storage space, and that was all that had a roof on it. Apart from that, you had 10-foot-high stone walls and a space to bring the livestock in at night. That was so the Apaches weren't tempted to steal the mules, their favorite food. The next station after Steen's was San Simon. There's not much left. This is the cut that was made into the San Simon River. It is right near where the station was. The station, I've been able to find trash scattered so densely in one area. I know the station had to be there, but not much remains. Were they in a tent or in a cowl? Probably not in adobe. I'd have found the foundation. After San Simon, they ran on to Apache Pass, another stone station. It's within a mile of Fort Bowie, which wasn't there yet. Bowie comes in 1862, after the Overland Mail is no longer running, at least running on the southern route. Where did all the stones go? Well, we understand that Mr. Tevis, who in the 1880s was the sutler, took the stones and appropriated them to build his sutler's store. Ewell's was the next station. This is all that remains. They had to bring water from 5 miles away, and the rocks are what's visible of the cistern. Again, nothing visible of the station itself. Maybe a tent, maybe a call. That is mesquite driven into the ground and plastered together with adobe. Doesn't last long, doesn't leave much above ground. Beyond that was the next stone station at Dragoon Springs, the one my friend asked about. 2 graves, the ones at each end of the row, date back to 1858, when 3 Overland Mail employees were killed by the Mexican laborers they'd hired in an effort to steal the tools. Silas St. John barely survived with his arm cut off. The arm was buried in the middle. Someone asked, why 2 men in one grave and only 1 in the other? Well, it's simple. When rescue arrived, the 2 were dead. The other fellow didn't die till the next day, so he got his own grave. You can see the stone station in the distance, and this is the same view that was drawn in 1860. There are the 2 graves, the entrance to the station, and a distinctive hill in the background. San Pedro Crossing was built at a bow in the river, about a mile and a half east of where Benson is today. In the 1880s, there was a flood. The river tore out the station, and nothing remains except for a spot where they made a cut to get down into the river. Seneca Station was the next. 4 of the stations have names of Indian tribes in upstate New York. The place is actually called La Cienega. The station was again a stone station and not much remains. The railroad went through one side of the building and the rest was torn down. Beyond that was Tucson. The station in Tucson was right downtown. It was very close to where the San Agustin Presidio is. But again, nothing remains as the downtown grew up around it.